very quick thing. Last night, an anatomical word, which I can't use on Sunday morning, was chanted about the Prime Minister. It had 4 letters in it. Isn't it really early in your term of office for that level of unpopularity?
I'm not a football follower. I only watch when the Brighton and Hove Albion are playing, and I don't think the fans...
Thousands of people chanting "Starmer is a wanker" in a nightclub. It's absolutely brilliant to see, and...
We have to make the case for freedom of movement. Freedom of movement has gone and it's not coming back.
Isn't it really early in your term of office for that level of unpopularity?
Let's have a look at the legacy media reporting on Keir Starmer getting called, I mean, I'm going to have to use the word here, forgive me, Father, for the profanity. This is 7,000 England fans calling Keir Starmer a bearing in mind, in my country, that's not considered that rude.
Last night, an anatomical word, which I can't use on Sunday morning.
I can't use it, I can't.
Something unusual happened in the middle of England's biggest national pastime. Thousands of football fans, arms in the air, voices unified, letting rip a word that shattered the polished silence of mainstream politics. They didn't chant about the manager. They didn't shout about missed penalties. Not this time, they aimed their rage at Keir Starmer. And they used the most direct word in the English language to do it. This wasn't a one-off heckle. It wasn't a drunken outburst from the stands. It was a thunderous wave of frustration. A raw and defiant message echoing through a sport that's never been afraid to speak its mind. In an era where every sentence is measured, filtered, and polished for TV, football stadiums remain the last place where truth doesn't come with a warning label. So when tens of thousands decided to let Starmer know exactly how they felt, without mincing words, they weren't being rude. They were being honest. And that honesty hit harder than any Prime Minister's question time could. Because when the people who once believed in Labour start chanting slurs at its leader, something deeper is breaking. Something far more permanent than party loyalty. 5 years ago, the Labour Party felt alive. Like it or not, Jeremy Corbyn had tapped into something youth movements, trade unions, kitchen table organisers. People felt part of something real, something that stood for them. But when Keir Starmer stepped in, he didn't build on that fire, he smothered it with branding.
Since he's come into power, he's made so many promises that he's broken. He promised he wouldn't raise taxes, he did. He said he
No, he didn't. He said he wouldn't raise income tax.
I'm sorry, okay. No, what about the national insurance? He's raised that.
Tax for working people.
Yes, taxes for working people. I'll let you speak, let me speak.
But the national insurance tax was on employers, not employees, and that was the loophole.
It has a knock-on effect on employees, as we've seen now, because lots of people are going to be losing their jobs and companies are going to close. OK, he promised he wouldn't raise taxes for working people, he did. He said he would keep the pensioners' fuel allowance, which he has not. He said he would cut tuition fees and he would scrap the 2-child benefit scheme. He hasn't done that. He said he would build a new relationship with businesses. He shafted businesses big time, and many of them are now closing. He has lied about every single thing he promised. He scrapped the 28 billion Green Deal. He said he was going to abolish universal credit. He hasn't. He said he was going to stop the boats. He hasn't. He doesn't have an immigration plan. This guy lies for a living. And anyone, you say he's got integrity.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a scrap of integrity. If he had a scrap of integrity, he wouldn't have his clothes and his glasses bought by one of Labour's biggest donors. It's outrageous. He's a rich guy. Why does he have to have other people buy his clothes? His government is a shambles. He has no judgment.
He promised unity. He sold stability. But what the country got was a carefully packaged figurehead with no pulse behind the podium. Gone were the rallies, the energy, the belief. In its place, stage-managed speeches, corporate donors, and empty slogans cooked up by consultants who've never stepped inside a working men's club. Labour didn't evolve, it evaporated. And the working class, the ones who used to chant for the party, now find themselves jeering at it in stadiums. Not because they've turned Tory, but because they see a betrayal. A leader who walked through their doors asking for trust, then sold the furniture while they were still seated. That infamous chant. It's more than a vulgarity. It's mourning, in real time. It's what betrayal sounds like when it's been bottled up too long. Starmer promised leadership. But for the people singing from the terraces, all they see is a well-dressed stranger pretending to understand their lives.
I can't say it, I can't look at it, I can't smell it, I can't touch it, I can't do a drawing of it, I can't build a cult to it. Do you know?
Keir Starmer wants to be seen as relatable. But the harder he tries, the more out of touch he appears. His everyman act doesn't land because people can smell the script. He doesn't joke, doesn't banter, doesn't spark any real warmth. Watching him try to connect with everyday voters feels like watching a tax lawyer try stand up. It's painful, wooden, and completely off-key. He speaks in policy briefings, while the country speaks in pubs. He shows up at football matches, but doesn't feel the tension. He tweets about the working class, but can't seem to hold a conversation with them. His words come polished, but hollow like a speech that's been revised 15 times before being handed to someone who doesn't even believe it. And that's why the chant landed so hard. Not because of the word itself, but because of what it revealed. People aren't just fed up, they're alienated. They see through the performance. They know when someone's faking it. And they know when a man shows up in their space and tries to blend in with a borrowed accent and a practiced frown. Starmer didn't lose their vote. He lost their respect. And once that's gone, no slogan can win it back. The chant didn't stay in the stadium. Within hours, it was everywhere, clipped, shared, and blasted across TikTok, X, Instagram. It reached more ears than any carefully choreographed Labour ad ever could. The media tried to downplay it. Some pretended it didn't happen, others shrugged it off as typical rowdy fan behavior. But fans know what they are doing. This wasn't about football. This was about frustration, uncut, undiluted, and finally too loud to ignore. And as Starmer's team rushed to distance themselves, to spin it, to pretend it was all just crude noise, they missed the point entirely. Every time someone tries to brush it under the rug, it only grows louder. Because when the press filters out people's rage, the people find their own megaphone. This wasn't a PR disaster, it was a reckoning. And no matter how many press secretaries try to contain it, they can't bottle something this raw. Starmer's handlers might wish this moment away, but it's already burned into the public's memory. A leader who doesn't inspire, doesn't fight, and doesn't listen should expect silence. But what Starmer got instead was a roar. Not from journalists, not from MPs, but from the very crowd he thought he could impress with a staged appearance. Starmer's fall from grace didn't happen overnight. It happened over promises, bold ones, repeated often, then quietly abandoned. He vowed to back workers, then turned on the unions. He claimed to fight for the vulnerable, then backed policies that left them worse off. Time and time again, he said one thing and did another. And voters noticed. You can't claim to stand with the people while cracking down on strikes. You can't promise fairness, then stay silent as disabled citizens are left to fight for basic dignity. And you definitely can't build trust when your moral compass shifts depending on the polling data. So when fans chant a slur, it's not about shock value, it's about exhaustion. It's a boiling over of years spent watching a man pretend to care, only to deliver more of the same. That chant was their way of saying, we gave you a chance, you failed, and we're not letting you forget it. For a politician who built his image on being careful, calculated, and clean, this moment cuts especially deep. Because no media training in the world can teach you how to win back people who feel lied to. And no leader survives once the punchlines start writing themselves. What's happening on the terraces isn't chaos, it's clarity. In a country where parliament feels distant and debate shows feel staged, football crowds have become the last honest jury. No spin doctors, no PR filters. Just the raw voice of the people, roaring back at those who stopped listening. And Starmer, he walked into that arena with a polished image and walked out with a shattered illusion. He's used to environments where questions are pre-approved and backlash can be dodged. But the stadium doesn't work like that. There's no moderator, no earpiece, no carefully arranged applause. just thousands of voices calling it exactly how they see it. And here's the uncomfortable truth: this won't be the last time. That chant has legs. It's not going away. It'll sneak into live debates, leak into campaign events, disrupt speeches, hijack interviews. Because it's no longer a chant, it's a signal. A warning that people are no longer waiting to be spoken for. They're speaking for themselves loudly, publicly, and with no interest in being polite. Starmer may be rehearsed, but what's coming next was completely unscripted. This chant has already crossed a line. Most political moments never doits become cultural currency. You won't see it in official speeches or party manifestos, but you will find it scribbled on pub walls, whispered in WhatsApp groups, and echoed at concerts. It's turning into a shorthand, a rallying cry, a meme with teeth. A middle finger to everything sanitized, scripted, and soulless in modern politics. Just like "Let's Go Brandon" morphed into a coded rebellion in the US, this chant is fast becoming Britain's own unofficial protest slogan. A crude word, yes, but behind it, a crystal clear message. People are fed up with plastic leadership. They don't want photo ops, they want passion. They don't want empty slogans, they want someone who bleeds when the country suffers. Someone who looks like they've spent more time in a queue at Greggs than in a glass boardroom. And right now, the gap between Starmer and the people he claims to represent feels too wide to cross. The chant might be vulgar, but it's also vibrant. It's how a wounded public finds its voice in a country where no one in charge seems to be listening. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's not some coordinated campaign by political rivals. It's deeper than that. This is the sound of national burnout. Years of economic decline, broken promises, and leaders who treat politics like branding strategy have left people drained. They've had to watch the cost of living rise while wages stay frozen, services collapse while taxes go up, and party leaders smile while nothing changes. And now, they've stopped being patient. The chant wasn't crafted, it wasn't rehearsed, it erupted. It was the collective sigh of a nation that's been holding it in for too long. It's what people shout when they've reached the end of their rope, when they feel ignored, mocked, and taken for granted. It's not polite, because nothing about the last few years has been polite. And what's Starmer's response? Denial, deflection, business as usual. But people aren't waiting for permission anymore. The respect they once held for politicians like him is gone. What's left is mockery, and that's something you can't walk back with a speech. Because once a nation stops laughing with its leaders and starts laughing at them, the fall from power is already in motion. Here's the question echoing across the country: how many second chances does a leader get before people stop calling it leadership? Starmer came in with a clean slate. He wasn't Johnson, he wasn't Corbyn. For a while, that was enough. But people expected more than a neutral face. They expected action, vision, spine. Instead, they got someone who disappears when it matters most. Who nods to working class struggles while quietly backing policies that hurt them. Who talks about fairness but always finds a way to land on the side of comfort and caution. And now, the mask is slipping. The chant wasn't just an insult, it was an audit. A public reckoning of promises made, trust broken, and a party that feels more like a brand than a cause. You can't govern a tired nation with tidy speeches and tight suits. People want conviction, not calibration. They want someone who shows up, gets it, and fights. Starmer may still be holding the mic in Parliament, but out here, in the real world, the people are already taking it back. One chant at a time. Keir Starmer isn't facing a political crisis, he's facing a cultural one. The chant that rang through that stadium wasn't crafted by a campaign or seeded by spin doctors. It came from ordinary people who've reached their breaking point. It came from fans who don't write op-eds or join panels, but who see through the illusion faster than any focus group ever could. You can't fake fire. And you can't lead a country that no longer believes you feel anything at all. The stadium gave Starmer a preview of what's coming. Because once that chant jumps off the terraces and into town halls, high streets, and debates, it's over. That word may never show up in an election ad, but it will be heard. Inside comments during interviews, in pub conversations, in voting booths where people make their choices in silence. He won't be defeated by a rival policy. He'll be defeated by the gut feeling that's spreading fast that this man, with all his polish and planning, was never truly on their side. So here's your turn. How many times does a leader have to disappoint before the crowd decides he doesn't deserve the mic anymore? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more raw, fearless breakdowns of what's really going on in British politics, then like, share, and subscribe. No filters. No favorites. Just the truth, loud and uncut. Until next time, stay sharp, stay loud, and never stop chanting back.